Well, hey, folks, what is up? Welcome into the Pegasus Actual Podcast. Let's not waste any time. We're going to bring in our awesome panel. And first up, you know her, you love her. It is the hottest ginger in the galaxy, the queen of the Pegasus Actual Podcast, and that be the wonderful, the beautiful Arwen Avalon. There she is.
Hey, y'all. Woo, what an intro.
Mm-hmm.
How
Now,
y'all
of
doing
course,
tonight?
we've got our XO and that B, Mr. Zach, aka Brightest Day, the man who failed basic flight every time he took it.
I feel like I got shafted with my intro, Drew.
Well, I don't know. You want me to fawn over you, be like, oh, it's the man with the hot goatee.
Yeah, keep going. Keep going.
Oh
Zach, you
man,
Mexi beast, you.
yeah.
There you go.
It's great to see everybody, man. We got a lively chat so far. I see that Macklin's in here. Hail Macklin. Uh, got my boy Lobster chilling in here, aka Dr. Alex Stein. Tehillim 29. Great to see you, my friend. Rip Korean, aka Tony. How you doing, buddy? Great to see you. Godzillionaire's chilling in here. Great to see you as well, my brother. So we've got a great episode. Obviously, you guys know we did Parrot Head. Hail, buddy. Shane Nolan. Hail to you. We did part one last week of the season finale, and now, oh boy, we get into where everything starts happening fast and furious.
Mm-hmm.
And whew, this one is a barn burner to say the least. So make sure if you haven't, click the bell for notifications. Click that like button, and if you haven't subbed to the channel yet, if you could so kindly subscribe, that would be awesome. And yeah, other than that, if you want to help the channel, you can use this handy dandy link. And that is our way of super chatting around here. And you just click the Stream Elements link there, and you can send a token of support if you wish. Just your presence here is quite enough, and I enjoy seeing each and every one of you every week, as I know that all of us here on the panel do. So, all right. Well, it's been, I think, a big, an up and down week. I think for me. I hope Zach and Arwen, you guys have had a great week.
Yeah, pretty much. It's been eventful.
All righty. Well, Zach, what do we got in the way of a nice script in play for them tonight?
Oh, we have a densely packed 3-page script with actually quite a hell of a lot goes on, even given the fast pace of this episode. And I mean, everyone that's watched the show knows exactly what's going on. But there were a few little things that I picked out, which okay, and I'll be honest, this is not one of my favorite episodes. Shocker, I know.
Wow. Wow.
There are reasons for it that don't apply just to the episode, but to the season as a whole and to the tail half of the series. But it's okay. We'll get into that.
Okay.
I love you, Zach.
Yeah, I'm interested to hear this. All right,
Me
man.
too.
Let's roll, sir.
All right. Thank you, Drew. This is season 3, episode 20, Crossroads Part 2, the season 3 finale. The episode opens with Admiral Adama shaving off the last day's scruff, nicking himself as the lights around him flicker. He answers a call on his handset from Roslyn, seeking a bit of humorous motivation to get out of bed and face the trial again. which she does not relish. After one feeble attempt, Adama manages, "Get your fat, lazy ass out of that rack, Roslyn," which makes Laura laugh and give a heartfelt thank you. Adama tells her consolingly, "Don't let him see you sweat, Laura." In Chief and Callie's room, Tyrell lies half awake, being brought out of bed by the mysterious music haunting several members of the fleet. In one of the bunk rooms, Tori and Anders are engaged in a sexual encounter, until she herself hears the haunting melody. Celix interrupts the romance as she knocks on the middle door, and an uncomfortable silence overtakes the group.
Yeah, she walks in like, what I just walk into?
It's even worse than that because Anders has to get up and open the door.
Yes.
At least they have time to make themselves ready again. It's not just like they walked in, but nonetheless embarrassing. It's not like there was any secret what was going on.
Oh
No.
yeah, I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure. It's like, God. Oh man, I've had that happen once before, so I ain't gonna say nothing. I was just like, wow, hi.
Let's be honest, who hasn't had that happen? Don't answer that.
Oh man. Rip Korean's comment right here. It's in the fracking pie. It's in the fracking bottle. It's in the fracking ship.
Might as well have been in the bottle for how often Ty hit it.
Yeah, no lie.
No lies detected, sir. All right. So continue on if you want. I ain't trying to derail you, man, but
No, that's fine. There's a couple more paragraphs for just the intro scene. Chief Tyrell wanders the ship, tracing the song to a section of ventilation where he rests his head against a fan grate and the music intensifies. Later on, as the trial defense strategizes, Lee suggests pursuing a mistrial. As Gaius questions the logic, Lee suggests that the majority opinion is still biased against them, and that their recent successes are only exacerbating the issue. Lampkin begrudgingly agrees, as Lee reinforces the idea with a quote from one of his grandfather's law books. Baltar scoffs in rage at the idea, having no desire at all to go back to his cell and repeat this entire nightmare again. On the flight deck, Racetrack puts several nuggets through the ringer on Raptor Basics. Anders is visibly distracted, as is Chief Tyrell behind him. The former hears the latter humming the mysterious song, and they both confess to hearing it wherever they go, like something from childhood, before Racetrack calls Anders back into the group. And that ends the opening sequence.
yeah, a couple of things other than Anders and Tori playing hide to salami. I kind of like the cute exchange between the Admiral and Laura. You could see that their romance is pretty much a guarantee. It's just cruising right along. So I enjoyed that little exchange. Oh boy, we lost Darwin.
Oh no.
The
Literally, oh no.
the other okay, she's coming back. Hail, Zax. Great to see you, my friend. The other thing is with the mistrial, I wondered about that too, and then I saw the logic in it. Because essentially he's gonna end up being, he's gonna end up walking that way, and he could just go back to his life because I believe that their justice system works like ours, so he can't be tried again.
So it made it sound, at least from Gaius's perspective, because Gaius takes the entire thing as Lee trying to wash his hands of the entire situation and walk away, which is a fair assessment. But it sounded like he was going to wind up back in his cell and probably end up having a new trial at some point. I I don't recall off the top of my head what the circumstances around that are. I think that they would have to find a new avenue of prosecution.
Yeah, yeah, I could see that too. So Tony asks you, I'll let you go ahead and read that.
Yeah, I saw it pop up in the chat. There is some information overload, but it's not much. It has to do with the four individuals that are the secondary plot of this episode. And I will just come out and say this right now. I was never a fan of the entire Final Five subplot. I never cared. It never intrigued me whatsoever. I didn't care who the Final Five were. And this reveal in this episode just kind of reinforces that. That's really what it is. And everything surrounding that in this episode is what I have a problem with, because it gets a lot of screen time for something that's really could have been like a single scene's worth of reveal.
And the sassy Southern Belle is.
Hey, y'all, sorry. My internet just died on me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Zach went all Mr. Roboto, and he was cutting in and out, and I'm like, that I know that sign. And then all of a sudden, I dropped in the chat. I need to reconnect. I need to drop out and reconnect, and then boom, I was gone. So anyway, hey y'all, I'm back. Sorry to interrupt.
No, you're good. You're good.
At least it wasn't me, because StreamYards has some major upload issues lately.
At least it wasn't like the cat, like just all of a sudden like, going ham, flying through the room, and I can just picture like the cords getting ripped from the wall or something.
Oh,
Right,
that's happened before.
She didn't have an as moment where her cat didn't pee on the router.
Oh, jeez. No, I don't think she had that one.
No.
Oh, man.
So
Okay.
Godzillionaire clarifies the statement that a mistrial does not count as double jeopardy, which is what I remember them explaining.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Is that where we're at? Where Lee was talking about the mistrial?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, Gaius was not having that, was he? He was like, no, I am not going through this again.
He sees it as Lee just trying to wash his hands of the whole thing and walk away.
Yes, he does.
Tony says, could this be a proper example of a writer using subversion of expectations with the final part? See, it had the desired effect, and I will say this because I obviously have a different point of view on the episode than Zach, and that's okay. It just for me, it did work, and I will say, I remember at the time at episode air when it was on, when I was running the Pegasus actual community, a lot of our members right after the episode posted, OMG, holy shit, blah, blah, blah. People were just shocked by it and pretty satisfied with it, because the desired effect obviously was shock, surprise, a bit of a payoff. It was widely, the reception on that was positive, even though a lot of people were shocked. Now, there were some people in Zach's camp where they said, I could do with or without it. And hey, it's different strokes for different folks. I totally get that point of view as well.
Right.
And I like Steven's comment about Ignites.
It's a hot take, and I'm not willing to I'm willing to admit that it's a hot take. I'm not going to sit here and try and pretend it's not.
Oh gosh, this will never go away.
Nope.
Parrot head, thank you. Drew's so big he uses the Mariana Trench to watch his pee. Jesus Christ.
I'm losing y'all again. So if I drop out, don't be.
That silent interference.
Just keep going. Pretend nothing's happened.
They're hacking the systems.
Yeah, no. She's probably a Spectrum customer like me. Hell.
Don't know.
All right. Well, go ahead, Zach.
All right. In sickbay, Doc Cottle congratulates Rosalind on completing her first Daloxin treatment. She falls back into the dream world of the Opera House, reliving the events of the beginning of last episode. As the doors in the dream slam shut, she and Athena, also in sickbay, scream in unison. Rosalind tells Cottle to give them privacy, as he demands an explanation, but gets none. We then join Caprica 6, still shackled in her cell, as a squad of Marines escort Rosalind and Athena in. Laura questions 6 about the Opera House, and 6's stunned reaction confirms that all three are sharing the same dream space. 6 states that she doesn't know why, but she feels the need to protect the child Hera with her life. In Adama's stateroom, Ty tells him all about the music haunting the ship. Bill dismissively tells him that he'll look into it as he leaves for the trial. Ty adamantly argues his case, but concedes eventually the moment. As the trial resumes, we see Gaida on the stand. The prosecution presents him with the execution order from New Caprica, and he falsely testifies to being in the room when it was signed. We, the audience, are shown a recollection of events as they actually happened, despite Gaida's testimony. Gaius has an outburst towards him, calling out his attempt to murder Gaius. Lampkin approaches the bench, silently taking the measure of Felix Gaida before offering no cross-examination, stating that if he's decided to perjure himself, there would be no point. Take a pause here and establish this if you'd like.
Yeah. Here's the thing that stood out to me, all right? And this is one of the things that bugged me. It's like, why did they not use the thing that he had a gun to his damn head?
Yeah.
That was a layup for the defense, man.
Yeah, I think it's because they just were beat to the punch at this case. Like they didn't have a chance to establish that up till now with certain cross examinations, and I'm sure if the prosecution hadn't had the first shot at Felix, that they would have done that. But they were just beat to the punch.
I agree. I mean, Felix just destroys Baltar in that testimony, and the damage was already done. Mm-hmm. The damage was done. I mean, he had lied, so he was going to continue to lie. You know, they could have said, well, they could have brought that up. You know, well, you know, Gaius with the gun, and Gaius had said, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. And I mean, let's face it, his hand was forced. They were either going to make him do it, or they were going to kill him and do it anyway. Find someone else to do it, whatever. And Felix he'd already taken his revenge. He was like, nope, this is going down. You're going down. So the damage has already been done at that point, I guess, as far as Lampkin was concerned.
Yeah, absolutely. That single lie puts Romo on the defensive immediately. And he immediately has to change tactics, and he recognizes that. So now we get into this next section, which kind of throws the wrench back into the works. After a brief recess, the defense begins its case. Romo limps forward to address the tribunal directly, offering a motion for mistrial on grounds that the admiral has prejudged the defendant. To reinforce this claim, Lampkin calls Lee Adama to the witness stand. Despite the protests of both Lee and the prosecution, Romo states that he can cite at least 7 examples that would permit such a move, and the judges concede. Lee is grilled about the conversation he had with his father 4 days past, refusing to put forth an answer. Lampkin reminds him of the oath he swore as an officer of the court, causing Lee to explode at him. Romo attempts a different tactic, asking whether Lee himself believes that Baltar deserves a fair trial. Lee responds in the affirmative, and objections arise from the prosecution, which are reaffirmed by members of the tribunal. The admiral lobs the issue onto the shoulders of the president before he and another judge agree to hear Lee testify. As the questioning continues, Lee testifies that he believes, despite Baltar's mistakes, he did not actually commit treason, being instead stuck in a situation with no way out. He implores the room around him to ask themselves what they would have done in his shoes. Lee reflects upon the blanket pardon issued by Roslin, covering the actions of men like Colonel Ty, Hilo, Chief Tyrrell, and even the Admiral. Not the least of which, however, are the numerous acts Lee holds against himself over the course of the last few years. From the Olympic carrier, to committing an act of mutiny, to jumping away from New Caprica as captain of the Pegasus and trying to convince his own father never to return. Lee weighs the forgiven sins of the many against the unforgiven sins of one. The trial, Lee claims, is about levying the shame of their guilt onto one man and flushing it out the airlock with him. His words move the crowd, and the prosecution chooses not to cross-examine. The defense rests, and the judges leave to deliberate their verdict. And there's our next break.
Yeah, wow. Lee's testimony was just crazy good. Want to cover Tony's comment here. He said, I personally think Baltar was done fighting and accepted he has survived all this time just by happy chance that he finally accepted that there's a guiding hand and he stops resisting fate. Hey, hail PJ. PJ's in the house. PJ gives you props, sir.
Thank you.
And welcome back, Shane. Hope that it wasn't the Jehovah's Witnesses at the door or the or the COVID door knockers either. So as long as you didn't have those two, you're good. Hail, author Stephen Walton. What's up, Stephen?
I got you on this one.
Great to see you.
I'll get the link to him.
Okay. Yeah, so we will take a quick pause and we'll get Stephen in here, and then we'll continue. But
this is, I have to say, this is my favorite part of the entire episode is Lee's monologue.
mm-hmm.
Because he just strips it bare. And I love it. And it makes me wonder, because him and Adama are like, their relationship is really strained by this point.
Oh, it's done. They cut ties clean last episode.
Yeah, it's like, ugh. But Adama wants to hear what he has to say, and it makes me wonder if he still has enough respect for Lee to know that Lee's going to tell the truth. I mean, on one hand, yeah, he's probably curious. Okay, what's this boy am I going to say? But on the other hand, it's like, is it a way for Adama to really kind of get inside Lee's mind, to get inside his head? Because Lee's not going to perjure himself. We know enough about his character, especially when he's like, I'm not going up against my dad. I'm not going to say anything. Yeah, but he knows he's going to tell the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And when you kind of watch Adama watching Lee, and Lee is just telling them all, hey, if we don't take this trial seriously as a trial for justice rather than a trial for revenge, we're nothing but, a bunch of pious, hypocritical gas bags. And we don't need to go there. We are who we are.
Not to toot my own horn, but this is exactly a point I brought up last week where we talked about how everyone has their own sins, no one's clean, and this is a trial of everyone through Gaius Baltar. I mean, it was plain as day. It wasn't like being hidden, but it's definitely it's a point that needs to be talked about both in real life and in the episode, because for one, Admiral Adama is kind of put on the defensive because he has no legal attempts to stop what's about to happen. Like Lampkin basically says, look, I can cite you examples of why this has happened 7 times over off the top of my head. If you don't allow us to do this, it's a miscarriage of justice. So he's kind of like, okay, but I'm curious. And it's the curious aspect that you talked about that actually humanizes Adama a bit more after their break.
Yes, I agree completely with that. And when Lee says, I love this part. We're not a civilization anymore. We are a gang. We're on the run. We have to fight to survive. We have to break rules, bend laws, improvise. He's right.
Absolutely.
They got to do what they got to do. And he's saying Gaius did what he had to do. He didn't want to do any of this. Who else would? What would we have done if we had been in the same situation? We don't know. So yeah, mad props to that scene. I love it.
Yeah, and that's the key question, right? Is like, if you were in his shoes, what would you have done differently? That's a question almost no one can answer when it comes to tough decisions.
Yeah.
Because no one understands what it's like to be in that decision unless they have been in it. And oftentimes, if they have been, they make the same rough choice.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just aren't left with a choice.
It's got nothing to do whether you like who Gaius Baltar as a person is. That's irrelevant.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's totally irrelevant. What is justice?
What's great is that even during this, he still takes the chance to take pot shots at Baltar's character the entire time.
Yes. He couldn't resist.
Another one of our esteemed panel mates from the season that we've been on this entire journey, and that is our co-host, author Stephen Walton. Glad to finally have Stephen back and settled. And
I know. Well, I'm not totally settled. My stuff isn't here yet, and I'm outside, so I'm sorry if you hear crickets.
Oh no, it's all good, dude. Just so happy to have you here, man. I sent a link out to Culture, but Culture's like, "Oh, it's been a crazy day. I might be in late." But so we don't know if we're going to see Culture or not. But I am so glad that you're in here, Steve, especially for the season finale one.
Yes.
Because dude, this is where you belong.
This is where I belong. I want to say thank you to the other panelists here for picking up and streaming on the show. I love to see so many people that love this excellent sci-fi series. Cosplay is killing me up there in the corner, brother. That looks great, man.
Yeah, Zach is.
It's good to be on stream with you finally.
It is excellent. I apologize. I apologize to Drew, to the panel, to people in the chat. I had to move to Florida. I had a lot of things I had to get done. And I've missed so many good episodes. I was looking forward to covering the trial of Gaius. I missed it.
Yes.
Well, dude, we're in the part where Lee just dropped that bombshell testimony. So have at it. You can say your piece on that all you want. And before you do that, you say hi to the beautiful young lady next to you, that being Arwen, who has been killing it the last 2-3 weeks.
Arwen Avalon, be still my pagan heart. Love your name. That's beautiful.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, beautiful. I've been trying to catch every show that I can. Lee is one of my favorite characters, multifaceted. He definitely takes after his grandfather, as we've figured out throughout this season.
Mm-hmm.
And his mind is very analytical, very fair. I think he's the epitome of what a hero is, like a true hero, whether it hurts or heals, whatever it may be. Justice is justice, truth is truth. And that is what I really enjoy about Lee Adama.
Yeah, you knew, Stephen, when he went on the stand, when Lampkin's he calls him up there, you knew Lee was about to tell the truth because he wasn't gonna lie.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, no, he doesn't lie.
And there's this weird symbology, if you remember back to the encounter between him and his father at the end of last episode, where he removes his pin and his uniform. It's almost like he takes that shackle off of himself, that shackle of duty, and he's now free as a civilian to levy the truth without needing to live up to his father's respect.
Yeah, well, he was constrained. You're right. There were shackles because he is about duty and honor, and he wants to honor his father, no matter what has ever come between them or how he feels about it. He does love his dad, but he more so the duty that he represents. You know, the duty to the fleet, to the uniform, and that's just who Lee is. And by removing those constraints, he is now allowed to be, to truly express how he feels and what these changes over this season have done to him as a person, how they've opened his eyes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I felt that way too. Yeah. But that was just so powerful, that whole testimony. So with that, Zach, you wanna go on?
Absolutely. Tension hangs heavy in the room as the judges re-enter. A brief, impassioned speech about the imperfect nature of justice precedes the verdict. 3 votes for acquittal, 2 against. As tears well up in Gaius's eyes, as he addresses the press, the courtroom erupts into a riot, and a man rushes to attack him. Lee and a squad of Marines struggle to get him out of the room safely. Having escaped, Gaius gloats to the chagrin of Lee and Lampkin on their victory. Lee objects, however, when Gaius decides to lob a minor insult directed at the Admiral, warning him not to push it. Baltar then turns his ego toward Lampkin, with talks of book deals, security details, and other such nonsense. Romo, rather politely, turns him down, and the 2 men leave the acquitted figure to figure out his own way. Baltar is left a man without work, friends, or even a pot to piss in. Lee and Romo exchange their goodbyes, with an air of respect hanging between the two. As Lampkin leaves, Lee makes note that Romo leaves behind his cane, another psychological tactic. Roslyn and Admiral Adama speak in the CIC. She is incensed on the verdict. Adama reminds Roslyn that not guilty does not mean innocent. Roslyn, who had assumed that Adama cast a guilty vote, realizes, to her shock and anger, that the Admiral voted not guilty. She questions him on that, and he confirms that indeed he voted to acquit, because the prosecution failed to make its case. Adama tells Roslyn that no one is asking anyone to forgive or forget, but they must look toward the future. Adama orders the last jump to the Ionian Nebula. As Gaius walks the gauntlet of Galactica's passageways, destination unknown. The jump is successful, and Adama orders a Dratus scan, when Roslyn becomes immediately dazed and stunned. As Bill looks to Roslyn to check on her health, main power on every ship of the fleet fails simultaneously, leaving each one, including Galactica, drifting dangerously close to each other. Ty is seen with his ear to the hull, still listening to the ghostly song. And there's our next break.
Yeah, so wow.
God,
Can
I
I
love
just
Adama.
say one thing? I just want to say one thing. Every time I start to like Gaius and I start to think, oh, he's learned something. He's got some humility to him. He opens his damn mouth and he lets that ego forth. And I just want to smack him and say, you were so close. Just shut up and accept it. Be grateful, be humble. It's so frustrating. But that makes him the character we all love and we all hate.
Yep.
It just
That
depends
is
on
the truth.
depends
Well,
on
it
the time of
depends
day.
If Script Doctor shows up now, he'd tell you every reason up and down why he hates Gaius. But like, I'm right there with you about him. Like every time you think he's going to learn, he falls back into those old traits. You know, he's stuck up. He's full of himself. You know, I don't. It's very. He's one of my favorite characters because of his complexity and because
Yes,
he's a creature of habit.
I agree. Completely agree.
I want you guys to kind of take some of these comments from the chat here because you got Tony makes an observation, aka Root Korean. He says, we have come a long way from the admiral who said, there's a reason you separate the military and the police. One fights the enemy of the state, the other serves and protects the people. When the military becomes both, then the enemies of the state tend to become the people. And he's right. They came dangerously close to that in this episode. They really did. And Shane says, agreed on the military. You know, it's Fury Kitten says the trial of Gaius I rate better than TNG Measure of a Man in storytelling and character development, or in Gaius's case, the detriment. And Fury Kitten, I agree with you. And I like that episode of TNG Measure of a Man. But this was by far and away. This was like, 3 tiers above that for me.
Well, Measure of a Man is a great episode that really talks about some very important issues when it comes to sentience. When it comes to the trial of Gaius, there's so much buildup. There's years of buildup because he's guilty. He is guilty of genocide. He did let 6 in. He did give those codes. He was responsible for those things. Like I had said earlier, when we're talking about New Caprica, that Gaius had a choice whether or not to just say, no, I'm not going to sign these papers and die, and be murdered, or be in a position where he could possibly affect some change or be of any good. I mean, did he really? No, but I mean, it's like I believe that I agree with Kitten. This was much more poignant, much more of a build-up, important to several characters, introduced us to a new character, it just really showed the evolution of, are these people going to cling on to their humanity? Are they going to cling on to morals and beliefs and structure, or are they going to descend into chaos? Because really, Rosalind's kind of the bad guy in that whole scenario, in my opinion. She's like a totalitarian, type leader at that point. Kill Gaius, get rid of him.
Absolutely willing to have blood on her hands. Absolutely, she's there.
Yeah,
she's like, let me do the airlock. I'll shoot him out. She had already resigned herself to that.
They did drift toward really dangerously close. And again, God, we talk about the parallels between current events, folks. They drifted so close to totalitarianism here. I mean, it was nuts. It was crazy.
Yeah, it's a classic example of power corrupting and nigh absolute power corrupting nigh absolutely. And she has nowhere near the will of certain other characters in the show. Like she has quite a few drawbacks of her own. She's not a paragon of justice. And Gaius, I would say, if you look at everything in a macro level, and you were just discussing it perfectly, Gaius is at worst ineffectual. He didn't do anything maliciously. He just did what he could, primarily for his own survival, because Gaius is a creature of the moment, as we've discussed many times.
Absolutely.
And
he fell for the ultimate bad honey trap, pretty much.
Yes.
Basically. Because look, this happens. All right, let me be real with you folks. And I'm not going to try to be vulgar here, but I'm just going to be real. All right. I'm a guy. Okay. And as men, especially,
you're not just a guy, you're an Asian Drew, and everybody loves an Asian. I'm sorry, go ahead.
but listen, especially in my younger days, there were a lot of times I let the little head speak for the big head, and I would just follow that lead. And they say, don't stick it in crazy. That's rule number 1, right? But sometimes
I broke that rule. Sorry,
sometimes
we all have.
Sometimes things happen. And this was a case with Gaius where he followed that call. He always followed the call of the horn dog, and it got him in serious trouble. Yeah. So much so, like, it caused the literal fall of humanity. So,
if you look at Gaius' history, where he came from to who he is. I don't think we're there yet in explaining his background. I think it's final season, but he really did work hard and to overachieve to get to the position that he was at. So
No, we did. That
his
was a couple
ego.
episodes ago.
Oh, it was okay. Yeah. So his ego, in a sense, is earned. It's just that he allows his base desires to override his logic and reason.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
You know,
I would say
I put it a little more stripped down than that. But
I would actually go a different direction. I don't think he's so much a victim of lust as he is a victim on many levels of his own ego. I would say that he sees any sexual conquest as a reaffirmation of his ego. Like anyone
agreed.
he sleeps with is just like this. He's almost sleeping with himself, to put it strangely.
Godzillionaire says most of
Gaius would-
humanity are Trisha Helfer. Sorry, humanity.
Yeah.
Oh, Godzillionaire, love you, bro.
I think Gaius would bang himself. To be honest, I don't think that's too far of a far off conclusion there, buddy.
And he would say, "I was the best lay I ever had," and he would
absolutely
totally
would.
mean it.
Yeah.
He absolutely would. You know what? I still go back to that one episode where Kara tapped that ass and left him to make a sandwich. She was like, "I'm done."
That's a very good point. That was actually almost a wound to him because he, again, so by saying that, what I meant is he sees it's just this part of his tableau. He's like, all these women find me beautiful. I am respectful. And Kara's just like, no, fuck you. You're a tool. And she walks away. That leaves him mind blown completely. It blows up his entire self-image.
You want to address Fury Kitten's comment there, Zach?
Lee himself came close to seeing absolute power and rescinded to duty and his beliefs. Yes, Lee has always been a just character, and it's been to his benefit and his detriment in some cases, some very minor cases, where it gets used against him to like, especially in this episode where his duty to justice gets leveraged against him to force him to make this testimony that we're all lauding over. Like, he gets baited into it by Rumbo, who's a master of the game.
Mm-hmm.
But Lee is a disciplined, just person.
Well, I mean, I would agree with that 95%. There is one area in which Lee disgusts me, and that is the treatment of his wife and how he was so willing to cheat on her to give in to his desire for Kara and indulge in both of them cheating on their spouses. Like that's the one area where he was chaotic and led with his heart or led with his desire instead of, being just.
I'll agree with that. That was his that pure human, I don't want to say instinct, but
it's an instinct.
That desire, that desire coming out. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'll agree with that.
Yeah. It's just, you can tell there was a love. There's absolutely a deep love there between him and Kara. But still, as far as a sense of honor, him cheating on his wife she stuck with him. And so what I love about this show is that as wonderful as these characters can be, as well written as they are, they all have flaws. And so I appreciate the flaw, and I understand the flaw, but that doesn't mean I agree with it.
I found you mentioned D. I did find that interesting. I can't remember if we brought this up or not. I don't think we did. She was willing to put up with Lee having his affair with Starbuck, but she was not willing to put up with him defending Gaius. That was her line in the sand.
Yeah.
Right.
That scene was described, but we didn't go into it in detail.
Yeah. So that spoke to me a lot about her character. It was like, look, I get it. Starbuck and Apollo, it's always going to be, I don't like it, but I'm going to accept it. This, however, I'm not going to.
Definition of star-crossed lovers.
Yes.
Absolutely. I mean, well, let's see. She was from Gemini, right? And so they're very religious, earthy, forgiving type people. I think they're very understanding of the human heart. So I think that may be what helps her to get over that. Yeah. And she had already understood that he loved Kara, but still, that kind of forgiveness can kill you. That kind of understanding and compassion can actually work against you. When it comes to Gaius, people are very heated. I understand why people hate him. He's very flawed, and he's a lot of hubris and ego, and he did nothing on New Caprica. He really did nothing to protect the people.
Shane Nolan's like throwing the logic out there. Man, it's a hot crazy scale.
I helped to create that scale. Thank you.
Well, Guy is oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, Parrot Heads. Walt Staines Copper.
I love you too, Parrot Head. Good to see you, buddy. You make me want to come back to YouTube every time you make a comment like that. Love you, bud. Thanks.
Oh man. Godzillionaire said, "Don't Stick It in Crazy" is the autobiography for a lot of dudes. Amen, brother. Amen.
I'm gonna write more volumes in the Fandom Menace volumes on that. Thank you very much, Godzillionaire.
Dude, if we combined to write that book, bro, we would write something like as big as War and Peace.
Oh my God.
I'm sorry. Walton showed up and it's skewed in the gutter. My apologies. I'm sorry, guys. My bad.
It's all good.
Oh man. Let's see. Fear Kitten says, is this wife or reaction to Kara's betrayal? And Fear Kitten says, did Dee have a flaw, or was that one of the only flawless characters outside of her belief?
I think her flaw was her compassion and understanding, at least for her.
Mm-hmm.
But no, she was very innocent. She was like the daughter of the crew. You know, that was, you know, and as much as Kara was for the Admiral, she was kind of the innocent coming in, and she did a lot of growing. That character's like, I love all these characters. She's, again, one of my favorites because of the growth in personality that she went through and her strength. I mean, so many. Look, you know, people in Hollywood talk about strong female characters. This show has nothing but strong female characters in many different facets of femininity.
Because they were organically based, Stephen. That was the beauty of it. It was built around, you know, the character development and the writing. It wasn't, you know, forced. It wasn't coming in on preconceived biases or preconceived notions. They just wrote these people as normal, you know, people that had strengths and weaknesses. And
absolutely. I mean,
I agree.
I mean, like even Ellen, you know, for all her flaws, you know, she had a lot of them, or she has a lot of them. You know, her character itself had strengths. I mean, it's just so very the complexity of the writing in this series was so well done in giving us just different facets of people, masculine and feminine attributes. You know, I can't say enough good things about this show. That's why I've loved covering it. And I've missed it so much.
Yeah.
So, going back to Fury Kitten's comment, sorry, I just want to weigh in on this a bit. If I could say that Dee has any flaw, it is the flaw I know all too well myself, that being kind and supportive without any self-defense to back it up is a fault in and of itself. You can be kind to a fault.
Nice.
Absolutely.
Zach Scott is co-pilot over there. Aww.
Oh, cute. And Shane Nolan said, that she was Sagittarian. Yeah.
Sagittarian, thank you. Is that a ferret?
Yes.
He's so cute.
Oh my God. Do you have two, like Beastmaster? Can you like tell them that they steal things for you?
Oh, sweet.
Oh, I just have him. I have him and a bunch of other animals, but he came biting at my ankle, so he gets attention whenever he wants it.
Oh yeah, I love
unfortunately,
ferrets.
even on stream.
Do they get along with cats? Mine probably wouldn't like one, but they are cute.
Yeah. Shane, I agree with you. I think she did kind of string along Billy. Yeah,
poor Billy. Yeah.
Yeah, poor
Those poor kids.
All right. Well, you want to move on, Zach?
Absolutely. In the chaos, pilots scramble with flashlights to their stations, while CIC personnel try to get auxiliary power online. But battery power is the best they can muster. Baltar tries to take advantage of the darkness and chaos when 3 women confront him, including the woman who last visited his cell prior to the trial. They lead him away, promising to bring him to his new life, We then enter the dream world of Caprica 6, where she and Gaius guard the child Hera in the opera house, standing before 6 converging beams of light, while watched upon above by the glowing white silhouettes of the final 5. Among the maelstrom on the flight deck, Tiro grows silent, before uttering a line of lyric. There must be some kind of way out of here. We jump to Ty, with his ear still pressed against the ship, whispering, "Said the Joker to the thief." We jump again to Anders, sitting in his bunk, fingers pressed into his temples, saying, "There's too much confusion here." Meanwhile, Tori Foster spins dizzily, before ducking into a water closet. As she cleans herself, she stares in the mirror and speaks, "I can't get no relief." The 4 individuals wander through the chaos of the paralyzed ship as the music becomes louder and more dynamic. They meet each other in Galactica's gym, and all are stunned and shocked, trying to come to terms with what this revelation means. They begin to hum the music together, coherently, in full. Ty angrily stops them and closes the hatches while they talk. He begins to systematically question his entire history, his 40 years of service, the war, his wife. Anders questions his time in the Resistance, the occupation, and all of his struggles since. Galen finally speaks the silent secret, that they're all Cylons, and have been from the start. In the CIC, Duala reports that the power outage afflicting the entire fleet miraculously went away among every ship simultaneously, just as a massive Cylon fleet is picked up on Dratus. Despite Adama's orders for Condition 1 and to conduct an emergency jump, Hilo, as acting XO, notes that the mass power outage means that it will take at least 20 minutes for the FTL jump drives on the civilian ships to be ready, and the Admiral doesn't believe that they have that kind of time. The 4 now revealed Cylons question what to do, and Ty states that, despite what they believe about themselves, he is going to do his job as a colonial officer, and heads to the CIC. Tori follows, while Tyrell and Anders head to the hangar deck. We can take a break here.
Yeah. Wow. So much happening there.
Yes.
It's just like that was crazy. And first off, let's say hello. Hail, Guylinda B. Great to see you. I'm so glad that you enjoy this this show that we do on Thursdays, and so glad to have you as a regular viewer. Uh, we've got Fury Kitten that says, "I was beyond genuinely surprised at Tori being revealed." And
Yeah, so was I.
and yeah, Tori was a bit of a surprise. I never figured her. I know the strong suspicions going in. Everybody kind of figured Kara. Some people wondered about Rosalind because they really did a lot of the misdirection, little nuanced things with Rosalind, and especially if you remember when they were when they were in the CIC and they were just as they came out of the jump, and she acted like she had gotten sick. That was a giveaway that she could possibly be. That was a genuine misdirection play. And
And if you remember with D, like the writers up until about the last minute, they were thinking about D was going to be one of the Cylons.
yeah,
Mm.
that too, Stephen. That I'm glad you went back to that. Yeah, they really did. They had flirted with the idea of making Duala one, and that would have been interesting. But um, I kind of almost would have liked Duala as one instead of Tori, only because Duala, especially being Sagittarian, would have brought an interesting dynamic. But I think the reason they did go away from that was because that Leoben kind of had the spiritual, almost like that whole dynamic with his line already, and
True.
I don't think they wanted to do a lot of similar overlap. And I think
Yeah,
that's
isn't
probably
that strange that Leoben was the spiritual one, and the one that was the priest was Kevel. You know,
yeah, yeah.
that was funny.
Cat was
But
just
yeah, I agree with that. I
Cat
also
was
think that
just a
Tori,
dick.
yeah,
He was
Cal, I love
Oh,
Cal.
he
But,
was. He was. He's great though, but yeah, he was.
So one of our new
absolutely.
guests has a question before I weigh in on this,
okay.
Mr. Stephen Ernest.
Okay.
So I do not recall, and I don't believe that she ever appeared at any point during the trial. I believe that she appeared afterwards and before, but not during.
Yeah, it was not at all during, and it just what Brightest Day said. It was afterwards and before.
Can I say something about Tori real quick?
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually really glad she ended up being a Cylon because, to be honest, I never jammed with her character. I've tried, but I never liked her character. So it was kind of nice to have the other ones, Sam and Tyrell and Ty that I do really like. I love all of those characters. And then
Mm-hmm.
Tori, and I was like, yeah, I never liked you anyway. So I'm okay
So-
with this.
If I remember correctly, she was only brought on because the actor that played Billy had other career
Yeah.
opportunities and he was free from his contract, which is why he was killed.
Well,
off.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
And oh God, feel bad for him because he wound up in the ill-fated Knight Rider reboot.
Oh man, don't bring that up. We don't speak of that here. It was during the writer's strike though too, wasn't it, Drew? That
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah,
that he released.
yeah.
He was such a good character. I loved Billy. I loved Billy.
Mm-hmm.
I liked Billy too. I like those. Tori, like I can understand not making any connection with Tori. I just thought she was hot. I guess I'm base. But you know, I
She-
did like. But you're right. I did enjoy her being the one of the Cylons because it did add another layer to her that
Yeah.
that made her a better character in my opinion.
Yeah, she was rather flat, just as the presidential advisor. So yeah, the bringing her in as a Cylon did kind of give her a boost.
It
which
did.
is-
It gave her
which
some
is good.
color. Yeah, it gave her some verve that she just
Yeah.
ugh. And to be honest, it may be because I loved Billy and I loved him and Rosalind's
Sure.
chemistry so much that when they brought Tori on, I was like, ugh.
And
So
that's part
I
of the
admit I'm
problem is
completely
that she
biased.
did not have anywhere near as much time to build and establish her character as
Yes.
Billy did.
Yeah.
I agree.
She was
True.
kind of just left in the corner. Now,
Well, that's
as
why
to-
Billy's death was so damn impactful when he got murked.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't see it coming. You know, when he
No.
died, you're right. It was impactful
Yeah.
because he was again. You know, with him and Duala being together, Duala was like the innocent kid growing into her own on the bridge, and then Billy was kind of the counterbalance to Rosalind. You know, her protege. You know, someone who was wide-eyed and you know looked at the world in a very innocent way, and then was being taught by Rosalind, who was a character who was on the fly. She was learning how to be a politician on the fly. You know,
Yeah.
in many respects. So Billy was endearing.
Yeah. Fury Kitten just puts it in terms like Tori essentially equals Billy 2 Electric Boogaloo. They needed to play up for non-military political exponent to give play to Rosalind's growth. And I understand that, yeah, she was a bit of a prop to directly grow Rosalind's character. But yeah, Fury making her a Cylon did kind of help her development. But let's face it, there's going to be events coming in season 4 where Tori, just does become even more hated.
Mm-hmm.
Oh God, yeah.
So just wait, because she goes down at the end of it all as one of the most hated characters in the show for many reasons. Rip Green, the base, says, I think Head 6 forced Gaius to accept it. No matter how much you insist your path is due to choices you make, you cannot tempt the hand of fate. And he accepted it was out of his hands. So he's kind of explaining to Steve and Ernest why her appearances were more sporadic. So
Gaius. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Thank you. If I can weigh in on the reveal,
mm-hmm.
what you all were discussing about all the deliberation of who could be a Cylon, and the fact that the writers didn't know up to the last minute, it is exactly why I didn't care about that plot line and why this reveal didn't have any impact with me, because I could tell even, back in the early 2000s, like, these guys don't know. And that bothered me a lot. Like, that for a show that was so very well planned out, that had so many scripts that were on point and had at least a defined ending, to have something like that get so much fanfare from the studio and the introduction and all the advertisements, and then they don't know, that bothered me a lot, and it still does. And it plays into why I talked about how I didn't like this episode as much as the previous one, because it contains almost half of the screen time.
See, I didn't know that. Yeah, I didn't know that they were waffling through that. I didn't know that. That's interesting.
Yeah.
That kind of.
Had. I'm sorry. Go ahead, sweetie.
Oh no! I know. I was just I wasn't aware of that, and that I can see that now. I mean, I can see that in the show. Why that didn't have that impact on you. I didn't know that. That's interesting.
You know what? Let's give it some context. I'm going to take a bit of a chance here. If we get dinged, we get dinged. But I'm going to go ahead and bring this up and play it for context, because I think we should watch this.
Just pause it every few seconds.
All right. So.
This isn't happening. Please tell me this isn't happening.
The camera work is just wow when they do that.
Pause. I think it's like 7 seconds or something like that. It's some ridiculously short period of time where you have to pause before they'll ding you. And they might still, because NBC Universal's really bad about this. But go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
So that's it. After all this time, a switch goes off just like that.
Pause.
I mean,
I love you.
That is one of the things.
What do you mean?
I
I'm
love
a
that
fucking
reaction.
Cylon. I just love him.
When he walks in and he just says, "Whoa!"
Whoa.
But
God bless him.
it's that next series of lines that he speaks. Where he's like, I'm questioning 40 years in the military.
Yeah, and that's the part I wanted to hear. So we'll pick it up.
Oh, no way. I don't believe this. I'm not buying this. This is a trick. Come on, we're not.
Pause.
Very well. Oh God, yes. How did we did not know Tyrrell from the rip was a Cylon? Like I had.
You got okay. Well, we got hints
from the rip because he was sleeping with one.
We got
right.
We got hints though. Remember back in that episode that you were really adamantly passionate about Stephen when he ended up like having those weird dreams. We got some strong suggestions even back then.
And then as soon as you got the reveal that the Cavill was the priest, like it's like, okay,
yeah,
there's something going on here.
Yeah.
Because you know, he didn't receive any punishment whatsoever for beating the living daylights out of us, not only a subordinate but a woman. Like,
So,
I mean,
all
how
right.
some soldiers didn't
Mm.
come together and beat the crap out of that man in a dark corner is beyond me.
All right.
Just
Well,
man
let's
code alone.
Well, I want to get to the thing Brightest Day is talking about.
What is that song?
So they're remembering the song. So we'll.
I hum like that in the shower.
All right, that's enough. God damn it! Deadbolt that fracking door!
That's a man who needs a drink.
Yeah, it is.
Pause it, Drew. I don't want to get dinged.
Yeah. No, I don't think we will.
I'm
This
sure
could have
you
been
will.
so over. This could have been so overacted, and it wasn't. You could just. They were stunned. They were like, "What?" Trying to figure out what was going on. I love the acting in this.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed. Very tempered.
Yes.
The shock was not overdone at all. This is a great scene.
40 years in the service.
Right here.
40 years.
Mm-hmm.
2 wars. Combat. Locked in that dungeon on New Caprica.
Mm.
Ellen?
What about Ellen?
My God.
Yeah.
What about Ellen?
The way he says that right there, you just immediately feel for Ty. You're just like, oh my God,
Yes.
this poor man.
Colonel Cuck went through a lot with
Yeah.
that woman.
Yes,
And
he did.
he loved her. I mean, that's just pure freaking love, good, bad, up, down, indifferent. I
Well,
understand
that's
that.
devotion.
Yeah.
That's human devotion. But and then Michael Trucco playing Anders right here. This is a great response too.
Not after all this. Not after the resistance. And the occupation. After watching my friends die one after another for fucking this.
Sam,
You all just stay the frack.
Sam, it's true.
Pause.
There's silence.
Yep.
Ugh.
Oh my God. Can you imagine? Can you imagine being in that position after everything that these characters individually have gone through? I mean, Tori is an exception, but Colonel Ty. What really gets me is that when we go back, what was the was it not Razor? Was that the one? The
There's
special
Razor and the
with
Plan.
Young Adama?
Yes.
Mhm.
No, right.
Blood and Chrome.
Blood and Chrome. In Blood and Chrome, like we see the Cylons working toward creating the skin jobs,
Mhm.
which means Ty had to have been one of the first.
Yes.
Yes.
So he's been there from the beginning.
There's context to that, because Godzillionaire says the final 5 had included perhaps a dead character or two that came back to Cylon, then that would have been awesome. Yeah, I mean, they could have done that. Godzillionaire. And yeah, it was rather predictable to a degree if you paid attention to some details. But I still think it was done pretty well.
So remind me if the background of the Final Five gets explained in season 4, because if it's not, I can speak to it. If it is, I don't want to.
There's
I really don't think it is.
There's some backstory there in season 4 exposition wise that I don't want to spoil it, but
Okay, then I won't speak to it.
but I will suggest, and we will do it too, because there's going to be, we are going to cover Battlestar Galactica: The Plan, which shows the Cylon perspective throughout the whole thing. So we will.
What are we covering that?
We will cover that at some point, probably after we finish season 4. We'll do the plan, and then that'll finish up our coverage of this series, and then we'll go on to the 78 series. But yeah, this was just a memorable scene, one way or the other, or a memorable sequence. I thought, despite how you feel about it, Zach, I thought the Cylon reveal was done well. It was acted well. It was shot.
I will agree. The acting is fantastic. I will take nothing away from that whatsoever.
Yeah.
What I love about this scene is you can see Anders pulling away from it, and he's just wanting to reject the idea all out. But the thing that I love about Ty, and I'm like, yes, I'm like cheering at the screen, is when push comes to shove, this information, despite how mind-blowingly awful it is to them, to, like you said, after all I've been through, I'm a Cylon. What?
Mm-hmm.
It reinvigorates him. He's like, damn it, I am Samuel Ty. This is who I am. This is who I choose to be. And when he walks in, and he's like, I am here to do my job. I'm like, oh my God, yes. This is what he needed.
So that being said, Zach, why don't you pick it up right after the reveal there?
Absolutely.
When that very thing happens.
So this is after they all leave that room. The hangar deck is abuzz with activity as Chief Tyrrell arrives, shouting orders to get a Viper into the launch tube. Lee Adama returns to his quarters and grabs his flight suit and helmet, deciding that he needs to be in the cockpit, protecting the fleet. Admiral Adama orders the preparation of the Battlestar's nuclear weapons. Ty reports on station, keeping his face stony, as does Tori Foster, offering to help President Roslin. As the mysterious song plays out proper, Lee launches in his Viper, with Hilo taking a note of the surprise at Viper 3's launch. Lee picks up an unidentified contact and breaks off to investigate. As he looks around, an image of a Viper Mark II keeps appearing and disappearing in the clouds and on Dratus. The image buzzes overhead and alarms Apollo momentarily. Pulling alongside, in her magically undamaged Viper, Starbuck greets Apollo. She tells him not to freak out and that it is really her. The believed dead pilot tells Apollo that she's been to Earth, and she is here to guide the fleet there. As the music continues to play, the episode concludes as the shot pulls swiftly and violently away from Apollo and Starbuck's Vipers, past the Colonial Fleet, the Cylon Fleet, and several planets, to show an arm of the galaxy. In the closing scene, the shot suddenly zooms forward, and into roughly the same spot in the galaxy to the familiar blue-green planet of Earth, showing what is known to viewers as the North American continent.
End of show.
There's Kara. There's our baby girl. Crazy and back from the dead.
Yeah. That it was funny though, because the Cylon reveal shook everybody. So the Kara reveal was good, but I think like having them so close together, it wasn't as impactful as it could be.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's all I'm saying. I was happy to see her back because y'all know me. Y'all know how I roll with Starbuck, but yeah, I was like all happy about it, but at the same time, I was like, yeah, this could have been more impactful if it wasn't coming like right off the heels of like 5 minutes before.
Agreed.
We get the shock to our system of finding out, people we thought we knew were all Cylons. So it's like,
Well, it was a lot at once. I mean, it really
yeah,
was just, I think, too much at once, especially for a series that has given us some excellent writing and scenes.
yeah.
I think that these instances deserve their own attention on a much greater scale.
Korean says the Saul Adams makes terrible
Our new brew, the
Samuel
Saul
Adams.
tie one on.
Oh my god, I get Saul and Samuel mixed up all the time. I don't know why, but I do. My big bad.
It's all right. It's all right. It's all right. We gotta give
Too
you
many
a hard
S's
time.
in the show. Blah, 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 blah.
We gotta give you a hard time, but
No, that's great.
It's awesome. But the thing that stuck with me was if we look back at the clip that we just watched, it's when as Arwen alluded to, when they said that when Ty says, well, what the frack are we gonna do? He says, we do our jobs, and he said the ship is under attack. Whatever else I may be, I'm Saul Ty. I'm an officer of the Colonial Fleet.
Mm-hmm.
That's the man I'm going to be. And and he walks off, and then it did pick up the others. And that's when you see Chief Tyrrell spring into action, and Sam is getting ready to jump in a Viper, and you've got Tori, who makes her way over to the president's side, and you got Ty looking, with renewed confidence. But you can kind of see that even though they have that renewed confidence, there's still that doubt because you catch that little clip where these exchanges glances with Tori, like, they're just like, oh shit,
Yeah.
So you can tell, but but overall, I thought that was a good way to approach it, the way that they did, and then with the Starbuck reveal, Lee knew he was. You guys remember Independence Day? When when the president was getting ready, the guy that asked him, the one general says, I don't know what you're doing, Mr. President. He said, I'm a combat pilot. I belong up there. Well, that was Lee's attitude. I'm a combat pilot. I belong up there.
Yeah.
And
Right.
And that's why he ran to grab his helmet and his flight suit and launch into the action. But that's I thought it was really good. But I said the Kara reveal, to me, if I want to be truly objective about it, it was lackluster. Just if I'm being honest, and this is coming from a Kara fan.
So, one interesting
Yeah.
side point, a small point is, and when we were talking about how Anders reacts to the reveal, when he pushes away Tori, that's a stark 180 from the beginning of the episode where the two of them are in each other's arms.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, good
Right.
point.
I mean,
Good point.
things can change on a dime, bro. 1 minute you can be inside somebody, next minute you can be like, peace. It happens.
1 minute you're inside, the next minute you're a Cylon.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, shit. All right. So, man, final thoughts on this episode. All I say is, I say this episode to me is a 9. I know I gave last week, I believe, what was it, an 8.5. I give this week a 9. This was pretty darn close. Yeah, it's a 9 for me.
I reassert my judgment from last week. I think the previous episode was better. My previous statement of 10 for that episode stands. I believe this is a 9.
Okay.
Okay,
Stephen, Arwen?
I don't remember what I gave last week. What did I give last week?
10.
I
We
gave
go
it a
pull up the
10.
episode.
All right. You know what? For Lee's monologue alone, I'm going to give this a 10.
Okay.
I
Fair enough.
love it. Favorite scene ever, in particularly in this episode. Love it.
Well, just your thoughts overall on it, though. Like, what do you believe was the strength, and what do you believe was the weakness?
Okay. Strength, definitely showing them for what they had become. You know, they had kind of become a
gang.
taking matters into their own hands instead of, letting the justice and the philosophies and the ideals of what they were play out. Yeah, they had become a gang, and then seeing them being pulled back into, wait a minute, that this isn't who we are. We need to continue for the survival of humanity. We need to continue being who we were if we're going to survive. And then, of course, the end, when you see the Cylons, they're like, oh, the Cylons have found us, blah, blah, blah. They're kind of forced back into that. And you're like, okay, they're going to come together again. And they're going to be, the men and women that we love, that we know they are. Because I don't like to see Rosalind with wanting blood on her hands. I mean, even though she's not a perfect character, that's never really who she was. She had moments of that, but that's not who she is. So that in itself, I really like. I have to agree with Drew on Starbucks reveal, although I loved it and I was so happy to see her back. I was kind of left a little bit like, WTF?
Yeah.
Same. But I still give it a 10 because I like seeing them being pulled back into who we know and who we really love.
Mm-hmm.
So.
All right, Steven.
All right. I'm going to say 8.75. There was a little bit too much at the end that I think should have been flushed out just a little bit more. But the rest of the episode, immaculate. Like, if they didn't, I think the problem with this episode was trying to cram too much in at one time. I understand it was a season finale, but that kind of left me a little
Fury
bit
Kitten,
like Arn was saying.
Fury Kitten speaks right to your point, Steve.
Right. It should have been between two episodes. If it had been between two episodes, it probably would have been a 10-10. So yeah, I'm gonna say 8.75. And I love this episode. I loved a lot of it. I just think it was a little bit too much crammed in there at the end. But yeah, like Lee, absolutely. Everything Arn was saying, agree with that. The acted scene with the discovery of the Cylons coming together, great, well acted, well done. Love that. It's just they could have spread it out just a little bit more, which is disappointing to me considering the many episodes, the seasons full of episodes that we've had of wonderful paced writing. That's just like paced perfectly. So yeah, 8.75. That's what I give it.
Yeah. Like I said, I thought this was pretty good finale. It probably could have been better given the reasons that Steven just cited. And Fury Kitten, you do have a good point. Between these last two episodes, you could have made like 6 of them. The moral of this episode, Starbuck Final 5 reveal aside, is that Gaius did what we all would have done what everyone usually does, works in one's own self-interest, blackpilling yourself. Okay.
That was a hell of a misdirection. I'll give the writers credit for that.
Yeah.
Hell of a misdirection. And the ensuing answer was pretty good, in the episodes to come. Like
Yeah.
I love this show. So maybe it's because I love it so much and I've seen so much good come out of this show that I hold each episode to a higher standard.
Yep.
But like, overall, love it. Wish I could give it a 10, but I just a little too much crammed in there for me to feel like it was perfect.
No, it was, and you're exactly right, and I think we all see that. I think collectively as a panel we see that it was, because this was really fast and furious. I mean, it's so much happened in just this episode alone. So,
So out of
it was
curiosity,
almost,
Stephen, what would you give part one of the two-part?
yeah. Well, what did you give part one, Steve?
9.25, I'd say.
Fair enough. All right. Well, folks, I want to thank you again. Everyone in the chat, you guys have stuck with us now over season 3, and we are going to take a bit of a break, probably a week or so, possibly 2. Recharge the batteries, and we're going to come back with our coverage of season 4, and that's going to be really awesome. It's going to be really fun. I'm not going to be just all blow sunshine up your ass dude here. I'm going to tell you guys in the chat, on the real, season 4, as Fury Kitten just said, we will have some arguments, very likely.
We are going to have arguments. Oh, yes.
Because season 4, to be fair, all right, when you, again, look at this series as a whole, objectively, season 4 is by far the weakest. It's by far the weakest.
It's the messiest. It's the messiest because it takes you up high and then it brings you down like, what the F?
Yeah. I agree with that.
So just, be forewarned, folks. The episode discussions are going to be fun. We probably will disagree on some things, but just know that the quality compared to the previous 3 seasons, when you watch the show, when you're just watching at home on your own, when you're watching BSG proper, you're going to see the noticeable drop in the quality, and it's not so much from the writing standpoint. It just seems a bit disjointed, and that's all. So,
it's kind of like this. It's kind of like this episode in a way, the way it kind of ended off for me, because they tried to cram too much in, I think, in season 4. But we'll go over it at the time. It should have been a 5-season run, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I
agree.
And Fury Kitten said the high points are very high, and they are. There is a pretty fair amount of good stuff in season 4, but it's just
absolutely.
It's just it doesn't have the gravitas, and that was the word I was looking for. That the first 3 seasons did, And if we're being completely objective about the entire series, the first 2 seasons were the superior seasons.
Oh, absolutely. And and make no mistake, this show, anybody who wants to write sci-fi for television or movie,
this is a master class
show. Yeah, this is best in the class. Absolutely.
This is a master class on science fiction writing, period. But yeah, again, thank you so much, chat. We love you. Without you, there is no us. You guys are awesome. I'm going to go around the panel, let these wonderful folks tell you where they can be found, and then we will see you in a couple of weeks. Let me see. I'm going to check my handy-dandy calendar here. So looks like we will be back on Thursday, August 19th, and I will see you at the bell of the ball on, sharply at around 9:10, 9:15, like usual. So, all right, let's go around, and we will start with Steven, since he's on mobile and he's been gracious enough to jump in. So I'm going to let him go before his phone dies.
Yeah, what's going on? Hi. Yeah, my YouTube channel is going to be a little more active as soon as the movers show up and get my stuff to me. But I wanted to say thank you to everybody for supporting me. Thank you for supporting all these wonderful people on this panel. Support your independent creators. Keep it up. Always forever strive to be the best version of yourself. And thank you very much for all your support. I am author Stephen Walton, the fandom historian, born in the chats with my brothers and sisters fighting for our modern mythologies. Monetize your haters and support independent creators. Wash your hands, wash your ass, be good to each other. Peace.
All right. And we go over to the sassy Southern Belle herself, Arwen Avalon.
Well, this week, actually, I can be found besides, I do have my YouTube channel, my Twitter, my Instagram, which I will start updating my Instagram. I have been told I am woefully behind in that, so I apologize. I am guesting this Saturday on 2 different channels. I'll be on Eris of Chaos channel at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and then turning around, and I will be on T-Shirted Historians channel at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So that's what I've got going on this week. So as I always say, come by and say hey, and I'll say hey back.
Yeah, and you just turned out to be one of the most, beyond my wildest dreams and expectations. You just turned out to be like a natural to be a part of this panel and just be on this show. You are like, you've been a ray of sunshine, and I will continue to sing your praises, my dear, because you're just absolutely kick-ass and amazing. Thank you so much for being a part of this. And I can't wait to do season 4 with you, because it's going to be great. All right. And we will go over to the man, the myth, the legend, brightest day. Zach, brother, you are awesome. Take it away, sir.
Thank you, Drew. Thank everyone in the panel. Thank everyone in the chat for coming along on this journey with us. If you would like to see more Battlestar content, I am currently in the back half of the live read of the novelization of the miniseries by Jeffrey A. Carver. I have about 4 streams left for that. I will pick up with the second book after that, and I have some content that I'm working on making that takes real life war stories and places them in the Battlestar Galactica universe. I don't know what format that's going to take, but it is coming down the pipe. You can find me in the links I've placed in the chat, and everyone else in the panel too. Please subscribe and follow everyone, especially Drew, especially Arwen, who's getting her start. I love having you guys here. I love being on this show. Thank you.
Yeah, and man, that's a sexy cosplay, bro. I mean that you nailed it, top to bottom with that uniform.
I'm getting the screen accurate buttons.
Yeah.
If I was gay, brightest, you'd be looking out for me, buddy. I'm just saying. I'm not. I'm just saying if I was. That's hot.
Yeah.
And you got a ferret.
Yeah. Yeah. It's awesome, man. It's awesome. And listen, folks, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart, especially those of you that have been here on this journey with me since season 1. God, way back when we started with it, and I had it branded as Battlestar Galactica Chat, and then we changed the name to Pegasus Actual when we started doing season 2, and then here we are now, where we're just this show that just took off, and it's been amazing. It's the panel's evolved over time. I want to say thanks to all our previous panelists that we've had. Obviously, Culture and Raquel and Script Doctor and Bear and all the people that have been on as guests and have helped us out. I mean, this has been such an awesome journey, and we can't wait to bring you season 4, because we've gotten I think a really good chemistry with one another, and the most important thing is we're putting a smile on your guys' face, and we're having fun discussions. And in the times that we're dealing with right now, man, there's no better medicine than that. So I'm very happy what this stream every Thursday brings to everyone and what people get out of it. So, thank you again for your continued support, those of you in the chat. And I look forward to seeing you back here on the 19th here in a couple weeks. So enjoy. Till then, so say we all.
So say
So
we
say
all.
we all.
Here we are.
Oh, geez. I almost hit the wrong
Don't
closer.
boomer it.